Hi Apple lovers, welcome to another episode of Apple Budget Buys, and today we are going to look at the iMac 2013. It's available today, but is it still usable in 2024? Let's find out. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is my history of iMac. So I got my first ever iMac in 2011. That was my first Mac desktop. That was the mid 2011 edition. It has 27-inch display. The processor was an Intel 3 GHz i5 processor. The RAM was 16 gigs of RAM, DDR3. I believe I did upgrade that to 16 gigs. The graphics card was a AMD Radeon Pro 1 GB graphics card. Now, the internal storage originally came with a 1 TB hard drive. I did upgrade it to a 240 gig SSD. The only way to do that was I had a shop remove the optical drive, so the CD drive, move the old hard drive there, and then installed an SSD. It ran smooth as butter. Because of the RAM, because of the SSD hard drive, and I used the internal hard drive mainly for Time Machine backup, which was lightning quick. Now, I did replace that iMac around about 2019. The graphics card eventually went in it and it was just too expensive to change. So I upgraded to the 5K 2019 27-inch. This one, I upgraded the RAM to 64 gigs, which was DDR4 RAM. The processor was similar. It was the Intel i5, but it had 6 cores. The graphics card was also, it was still a Radeon Pro, and that had 4 gigabytes. The internal storage was a 1 terabyte hard drive, but it was a Fusion hard drive. So best of both worlds, so SSD and then some mechanical. That did me proud. I had no plans to change it at all. I loved the form factor of the larger iMac. And then, of course, it was announced that the only macOS that would support it goes up to Ventura. As soon as they announced Sonoma, I was gutted, but I knew it was time. Okay, let's move on. Now, the iMac we're looking at today is the 2013 model. It has an Intel i5 2.7 gigahertz processor, 8 gigs of RAM, which is upgradable to 16 gig, and a 1 terabyte hard drive storage. I got this for under £100 in an auction, and the condition, there wasn't a lot of information about the condition. However, it came with the original mouse, keyboard, and the box. So I thought I'd give it a shot. And this is actually the first time I bought a device specifically for this channel. So I was very excited about it, and I wasn't even planning on making a profit on it when I resold it. I just wanted to break even. However, I did make a very small profit, so I'm chuffed to bits. So with the unboxing, it was sent to me really well packaged. It was a good courier service too. It turned up when it was supposed to. The seller did all they could to show it was a fragile product, as well as keeping the box this way up. The outer box was also original, which was in great condition. It was hard to get out, but that is a very good sign. It means it's well packaged and, again, in good condition. Now, that's good if you are looking for a box product. Is the box in good condition? That will help you retain some value if you go to resell it as well. So when I did eventually get the iMac out of the box, it had the original polystyrene, nothing was broken. It had the original box and manuals for the keyboard and the mouse as well. And super happy. The power cable was also in good condition. So once I had unboxed it, it was time to look at the condition. Now, this is a 2013 model, and it didn't look like it had been cleaned since 2013. Oh my God. So I got to work cleaning it. It did clean up really nicely, and actually, once I had finished cleaning it, I could see no visible marks. So I sold it as excellent condition. Honestly, the screen was immaculate. I couldn't really see any marks at all. I think there was one tiny mark on the stand and maybe on the bottom of the bezel. But condition wise, again, I got it for a good price because they didn't sell their product well with the description. It was great. But so far, as much as I was happy with the seller's service, getting it to me in the packaging, come on, clean your product if you're going to resell it. Come on. It's the first impression when you take something out. So I was disappointed there. However, like I said, the condition I could not be happier with. So now it was time to boot up, check it out and see what condition it is, what software. So when it did eventually boot, it was clear that this had not been factory restored. My biggest frustration, but not only that, there was a password set and they didn't provide me the password. I messaged them straight away and it took them a good 4 or 5 hours to get back to me. Not a good sign at all. I believe the last Mac I had that had a password set, they put a note in the box to say what the password was. However, skip all that, factory reset it. When I boot up a device, I want it to go to the startup screen, just like it would have been brand new. So as there was no password, and I didn't want to wait for the seller, I thought, right, I'm just going to factory restore it. And now to do that, shut down the device, hold Command and R. As it boots up, as soon as the Apple logo comes on, you enter recovery mode. I then formatted the hard drive and reinstalled macOS Yosemite. Now that took a while, and actually it kind of regressed me. So as much as I did love my iMac, towards the end of its time cycle, it got slow on doing these software updates and it took a while. So the macOS edition on this one was macOS Yosemite. It was clearly not software updated, and in fact this one, the maximum macOS you can go to is macOS Catalina. I did eventually find it. I loaded the App Store up to find the software update. However, I couldn't find it on there. The way I had to do it in the end was Google for macOS Catalina, which gave me a link to the App Store, and eventually I downloaded it from the App Store. Now, on the note of Googling it, Safari was useless. It was clearly out of date. It wouldn't even let me Google. So I had to download Google Chrome to then have a workable browser to have a look at these things. So now Catalina was installing. Again, it took an age for it to happen. I had to attempt it a couple of times, but it did eventually install Catalina. Now with macOS, yes, you can use the Open Legacy Patcher to get newer versions working, but considering how slow this machine was, I wouldn't recommend it at all. But yes, it would have a fresh coat of paint, but you're not going to get all the features, and it is going to struggle to run newer Mac OSs, even with the Open Patcher. Another issue I found that with trying to log in with my Apple ID, when it comes to the verification code that you get on other devices, after I put my password in, there was no option for the verification code coming up, or it didn't work. It turns out, and this is a tip for anybody, you have to put that verification code at the end of your password, which I eventually did, and it was now all booted up and good to go. So I thought I would start off by testing the App Store and download Pages Number Keynote, also the Microsoft Office Suite, iMovie, and I thought I'd check out some games on Apple Arcade. So as it turns out, as soon as I went to install Pages by just searching for it, it was saying that this Mac version is not compatible with Pages. After some Googling, it turns out the only way to install it is to go to your purchase history in the App Store and then find the software that you're trying to install there. And as soon as you click it, it says that it will download the last version that would work with it. Now, in my head, if you don't have that purchase history, I don't know how that you would install any of these apps. It seemed the only way it would download a working version of it is from the history. So I'm guessing anybody without that Apple history, you would have to log in to a different Mac, purchase it there just so it can turn up in your purchase history. That's the only way that I can think about it. So that was really the biggest issue that I found, apart from how long it was taking not only to update the Mac OS, but download and install apps. You need the patience of a saint with installing all of these. But once they did install and then ran for the first time, it was fine. So that's my first kind of verdict there, is once everything's installed, it is good to go, but you need the patience of a saint to get to that point. So I tested a lot of those apps to make sure they opened and they were fine. I did a brief test in iMovie. I believe I imported a 5-second video clip and then exported it. It took a while to do that, so maybe not the greatest machine for iMovie either. However, Apple Photos were absolutely fine. It synced my library fine. So you could use it for your photos there. And again, you can use it for iMovie, but again, you need the patience of a saint. Apple Arcade was interesting when when it eventually loaded. To show the catalogue. It wasn't the full catalogue at all, but it was strange. It was some really brand new Apple Arcade games, and then some that were released about a year ago, like Cut the Rope, was nowhere to be seen. So I guess they only display the games that are compatible with the device. In the end, I did download the Sasquatch game, which did eventually load, and it was usable. So I tested one game and it did work. So for me, there are games that are compatible, but don't expect the entire library. And that goes for any other app outside of Apple Arcade. It might work, there is no guarantee. I also tested Apple TV and that worked absolutely fine. Again, a bit slow to boot up and get going, but once the video was playing, it was absolutely fine. And this will also load any streaming site from Safari, which was usable. So let's talk about uses in 2024. As a web browser, no problem at all. And with the newer version of Safari, it ran absolutely fine. But of course, you can use Google Chrome as well. Now, through that web browser, of course, you can stream Netflix, Disney Plus, anything you want to. And like I said, Apple TV worked fine. Apple Music was fine as well. So for entertainment purposes, this is a good machine. And also, if you get the 27-inch, even better, right? That's coming on a good size of a monitor to watch content on. Apps, like I said before, it depends if that version will run on it. Apple Arcade is there, but you are limited on the catalog. For productivity, Pages, Numbers, Keynote does work. Microsoft Office works, but again, you have to download the compatible version from your purchase history. Like I said, iMovie does work. I wouldn't recommend this machine for video editing. Perhaps if you upgraded it to 16 gig, which is a low cost, if you can find the RAM, you're going to be able to do that for about 20 to 30 pounds, and installation is really simple. Photos worked absolutely fine as well. So if you've just got a basic iCloud photo library and you want to do very basic touching up of photos, adjusting the levels, cropping, that worked a treat as well. So it's time to summarize. Would I recommend this iMac 2013 in 2024? I don't think I can. No, I can't. And that is purely down to the macOS version it's running. Catalina, yes, you can get it going eventually. But for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't have a patience of a saint, no, I really wouldn't. So I would recommend the 2014 model because that one is compatible with macOS 11 Big Sur, and you're not going to find these issues that I came across today. So who is this machine for? If you find a 2013 for a good deal, I wouldn't pay more than £120 for it. It would be a first family computer, maybe the first one for your kids, just to have a play with, to see how they get on with it, and you don't mind it's not going to be well maintained, look after, and can be beat up pretty much. So to summarize, no, not in 24, go for the 2014 model for the newer macOS. So thank you for watching this episode. Be sure to check out my other Apple budget buys, and please do check out my channel. Please like this video and subscribe to me. You can also follow me on Instagram and Threads at TechHubWilts UK. Do you have a 2013? Did you purchase a 2013? Tell me how you got on. Did you take my advice and get a 2014? I'm interested to know if that does actually in fact run better. Anyway, good to see you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.